Dear students, welcome to the online classes program of Higher Education Department, Punjab. It is Department of English Language and Literature of Govt Postgraduate College, Attock. Here, I am Sharif Zahid, Assistant Professor of English. Well, dear students, we are going through the functions of a teacher given by Bertrand Russell in his book Unpopular Essays. This article deals with the function of a teacher, and in the last lecture we have reached to the point that teachers are more than any other class the guardians of civilization. And finally the question arose that what is that which constitutes a civilized community? Whether that is something related to material tests, and our last point was that civilization relates to both two things. One is that it is a matter partly of knowledge and partly of emotion. So we are to take start from this point for our today's lecture. Let us switch over to the text. So, Russell is of the opinion that so far as knowledge is concerned, a man should be aware of the minuteness of himself and his immediate environment in relation to the world in time and space. It means we must be well aware. As far as knowledge is concerned, we must be well aware. Where are we living? In which age are we living? And with reference to rest of the world, we should know. For example, he says very particularly that he should see, means a civilized person should see. He should see his own country not only at home but as one among the countries of the world, all with an equal right to live and think and feel. It means we love our country, and we should love. It is but natural. But we must keep in our mind that everybody loves his own country. And we must give this leverage to others as well, and this much space should be there in our mind, that he should see, a civilized person should see, that his own country not only at home but as one among the countries of the world. As other countries are there, similarly my country is there. So all of the people, all means all rest of the countries and rest of the people, with an equal right to live and think and feel. He should see his own age in relation to the past and the future. Age means the period of life in which he is living. For example, he is living in the 20s, or taking the example of the person of the last century, if he was living in the 19th century, 20th century, now we are in 21st century. So, considering that we are the citizen of 21st century, we must consider ourselves to the past and the future. Why and how? Now, giving the example that let us think and be aware that its own controversies will seem as strange to future ages. The controversies of our age will be very much strange to the coming generation. Why and how? As those of the past seem to us now. As we feel which type of people were in the past, so how did they live? What were the various means of their entertainment, their survival? Same questions will be discussed by the coming generations for us as well. Taking an even wider view, he is not accepting that we should remain up to here. Rather, we should think beyond that, and that is wider view, that he should be conscious A civilized person should know of the vastness of geological epochs and astronomical abyss. Means we aren't living on this earth only. There is an astronomical world, but he should be aware of all this. And why this awareness is necessary? This awareness is not necessary for competition, as Russell says, not as a way to crush the individual human spirit. We should not keep in our mind that we should crush the spirit of rest of the people who are not like us. Then why should we be aware of all these realities? But as a vast panorama which enlarges the mind that contemplates it. Whosoever thinks about this phenomenon, so his mind is widened and enlarged. This was all about partly of knowledge. Russell says that civilization is a matter partly, on one part. It is, you may say, thirsty. It is not complete thing which makes us civilized. Then what does make us complete is that what about emotions? Now switching over to the second part, partly of emotions. Now he says that on the side of the emotions, a very similar enlargement, means the enlargement which a civilized person keeps in his mind about his own country, and then he considers all the countries of the world equal to that. Similarly, similar enlargement from the purely personal is needed if a man is to be truly civilized. If we wish to be called a civilized person in a real sense, then we must enlarge our mind as well. Taking the example of so many people, Bertrand Russell discusses that in this world, if we look in the history, so many people took birth, men pass from birth to death. So it is a natural process, sometimes happy, sometimes unhappy, sometimes generous, sometimes grasping and petty. Mean the fame of the people is there. Some people came to the end of their lives, but they were not happy. Some people ended their life in their good period of life, in their prosperous period of life, and some people were generous enough while the others were petty enough, too petty, sometimes heroic and sometimes cowardly and servile. It is that all the people do not come to an end in a similar way. To the man who views the procession as a whole, now a civilized person keep it in mind that why this is the difference among the people. He should keep in view that certain things stand out as worthy of admiration. There are certain points which makes one as admirable. Some men have been inspired by love of mankind. Some people who took birth, then accepted death, but they were the lover of mankind. And some, by supreme intellect, have helped us to understand the world in which we live. It means they were highly educated people. Through different phenomena, they tried their best that this is a space, this is a universe. So, through the efforts of those intellectuals, we came to know about this universe. And there is another variety of the people, and there are some people by some exceptional sensitiveness have created beauty. So it means they were sensitive people. Mostly such people are literary people. These men have produced something of positive good. So they were the messenger of something that is good. So why do and how do they spread this message of goodness? Because of the reason that the past was not worth mentioning, worth recalling. So they contributed this goodness to outweigh, to equalize, to equalize the long record of cruelty, oppression, and superstition. In the past, there is a long record on the part of human being, on a long record of cruelty, oppression, and superstition. So this was balanced by these intellectuals, these sensitive artists, so who contributed in the betterment of human being. These men have done what lay in their power. So whatsoever was in their capacity, they contributed to make human life a better thing, so that there are certain comforts in our life. A brief turbulence of savages, and they brought us out of that miserable period of savage life. Now, what is the role of a person who claims himself to be a civilized man? The civilized man, where he cannot admire, will aim rather at understanding than at reprobating. He who claims himself to be a civilized one, he will try to pick up all this good change and big change in the life of all human beings. Rather, he won't go for testing, for verification whether anybody contributed or not. This is not a civilized attitude. The attitude of a civilized person is that he must accept the contribution of the other people who made our lives better, comfortable, easier. He will seek rather to discover and remove the impersonal causes of evil than to hate the men who are in its grip. Of course, there may be certain people who fail to contribute in the betterment. A civilized person will not mention about such people, rather will he seek what are the reasons that they fail to contribute. Now, this was all about civilized person, and civilized person, we have studied that he has to take two views. The one view is of knowledge, the other view is of emotion. But we are studying the functions of a teacher. Keep in your mind all these conditions of a civilized human being. Now, the role of the teacher starts, and the role of the teacher is too difficult here. Bertrand Russell is of the opinion that all this should be in the mind and heart of the teacher. Why and how? And if it is in his mind and heart, he will convey it in his teaching to the young who are in his care. During the process of inculcation, during the process of delivering his lecture or lesson, a true teacher should keep in his mind that he has to make his students a civilized one with respect to knowledge and with respect to emotions. Then will he become, or he will be entitled as a good teacher. Thank you very much for happy watching. इसको थोड़ा reduce कर लेना.